Welcome back to beautiful Athens, Greece, host of the LEC Summer Final, as we gear up and get ready for Game 2 in our semifinal series between Schalke 04 and Fnatic. And Fnatic, of course, coming out swinging in Game 1 as we get right into Champion Select for Game 2.
Fnatic came out strong business as usual. For Schalke, we don't know, it didn't feel like the strongest foot to put forward here for their squad. Of course, they're going to be switching it over to the red side in this game. We'll see what changes come along with it.
Let's be honest, and we were not massive fans of Schalke's Game 1 draft. It felt like that they didn't have priority mid, they didn't have priority bot, they drafted Olaf, and the one lane they did have priority over, this team is not very good at playing around. So we need to see some big changes coming into Game 2.
It's exactly right, Vedius. I think the Sejuani 4 trick is a super good champion, something that's definitely in his wheelhouse. They waited for jungle pick, did not opt into that in their first 3. I would like to see them pick that up so it doesn't get banned away in the second phase.
Yeah, and now we are seeing Schalke play on the red side with the Yuumi Rakan ban staying as is. The question is, will they continue to ban the Twisted Fate, or will they look to take the Aatrox off the board, or perhaps Schalke is saying we have some kind of answer for it, because we know that Fnatic will priority pick it, but they may even go for the Akali, given that it is now up and available.
It is possible that they do give the Twisted Fate over to Fnatic as well. I think TF as a pick is very good at dominating when you look at playing around these side lanes, but for Schalke, a team that loves to funnel pressure through that middle lane, loves to have Trick team up with Abbedagge, I think that could have been an option for them. Of course, now with the Akali and Aatrox both open, the Aatrox is the one that Fnatic fans will all want to see, but the Akali worked wonders for them last week as well.
And Bwipo with a big smile on his face, you know he wants to lock in that Aatrox for himself. See if it's what he's going to go for, but he takes the Akali away instead, and you know if the Aatrox was locked in, Schalke will responded with an Akali and a Sejuani of their own.
Now, the Akali is an interesting champion for Fnatic because it's not something they played a whole lot of in the regular season. And even last week, when Nemesis played it and popped off early on, it wasn't enough to pull away with a win in game number 3. I feel like Fnatic as a team are not as good at enabling their Nemesis to be the one making plays in team fights. When he's on a Corki or Twist Fate, that's when he is at his most fearsome, but the Akali is something he needs to grow more into.
Well, it could very well be an Akali up towards the top lane. We did see it come out from Bwipo in that game 5 versus G2. Unfortunately, Bwipo didn't really get to play the game very much. We'll see if that changes, because the immediate answer from Schalke is going to be the Xayah for upset and the Aatrox. They do not want to give Fnatic both Akali and Aatrox together. And remember that Akali is considered a pretty solid matchup into the Aatrox as well, so Fnatic could just look to match wherever this Aatrox ends up going.
And Nemesis playing with our heart a bit, hovering through some potential counter picks to the Aatrox on the top side of the map. Remember, the Akali as well as the Karma are flex picks, but the Pyke, how could we forget the Pyke?
It's the Karma Pyke bot lane!
It's Hylissang Pyke up here in Athens.
If game 1 was all about Rekkles and him carrying his team to the finish line, game 2 is about Hylissang and his signature Pyke. The best Pyke in Europe, so talented on this champion, absolutely crushes you. In the 2v2 on the roam, you must look out for him.
Now's the response going to be the Morgana. Well, going to be interesting from the side of IgNar what exactly will he opt for. Instead, looks like he wants to match playmaking with playmaking. Will opt to go for the Thresh here.
Thresh can be a good option into the Pyke, you know, if he ever dives into, there's a lot of CC to try and lock him down there. When you're trying to play offensively as a Thresh, not going to be as effective. Now, the one thing he does bring is the Lantern, which can be super effective at getting your AD carry out of dodge. Like the Xayah, she can pop up into the Feather Storm at the start to dodge away from the initial CC, and then scoot on out of there with the Lantern to follow it up.
Now, we do see Schalke banning away the Gangplank still. They're not entirely sure where this Akali is going, but I feel like Fnatic right now is edging more towards the Akali top lane, which means that I would like to see a Corki ban come out from the side of Schalke right now, because if Fnatic were to draft anything in the mid, I feel like that would be the safest and easiest option for them to go for.
I'm also very surprised to see Fnatic banning away the Kled.
Are you after the last time?
I really am here, because Jarvan, Sejuani both still up. If they leave Sejuani and put that in Trick's hands, that would be a big head scratch for me with Aatrox already locked in along.
But the Olaf now, interestingly enough, going to be banned away from the side of Schalke. The Skarner now, they will finally take away one of Trick's champions, but it looks like Fnatic are not scared of the Sejuani whatsoever. They've literally put it into his hands. They've banned his other options, given him the one champion that he has played the most this entire year.
Suggests that Fnatic kind of want him to do it. If we think about it, Skarner is definitely a much bigger threat against the likes of an Akali, and locking champions down like the Pyke and the Karma is extremely difficult to deal with as well. So they're saying, you know what, we'll just tank, we'll dodge, we'll avoid your hard engage with the Sejuani, and you know what, we're happy to play into it.
I like it. Going back to the Lee Sin for Broxah, Corki, I think, a very smart follow-up here, as you were mentioning earlier, for Nemesis when you don't have a marksman in the bot lane, can work wonders. And this is something that Fnatic did so much in the regular season. Lee Sin in the jungle to make plays alongside a lane-making support. That should just be Karma back in the mid lane for Nemesis here. Ezreal going to be the pick for Rekkles.
I love how we're surprised by that. Like, wow, Fnatic not putting Rekkles on his signature Karma.
Legendary AD carry Rekkles not playing Karma?
That is so strange.
But I do love the Ezreal here because it has so much safety that if the Pyke wants to roam, it doesn't really cost him anything. You can always CS under tower, and it doesn't really lose you too much.
I think specifically it is an answer to the likes of the Thresh hook, the Sejuani ultimate as well, the bonus safety you get on a pick like that as opposed to the Karma. But now a Rumble comes in on the other side for Schalke, which is a little curious for me. Yes, magic damage in the top lane, that's absolutely what they want, but when there is a Karma on the other side, presumably building AP, giving you that AoE teamfight shield, it can do so much to mitigate the damage of the Equalizer.
I would imagine the reason why Schalke have gone for this, number one, it fits their style of trying to force teamfights. We can definitely see how Schalke have drafted very much a teamfight comp. They do have some pick elements to it with regards to things like the Thresh, but ultimately there's a lot of crowd control, a lot of AoE damage, and I do think that Rumble is a very effective pick into the Akali as well. Something we have to bear in mind once we get into the game is Odoamne may just move lanes to wherever Nemesis is to try and grant the most favorable matchup to try and put some pressure down onto Nemesis with the Akali.
So who are we looking at here in the early game? Obviously Trick, much more comfort in his hands with Sjokz, but he is going toe-to-toe with Broxah's Lee Sin. Where do both teams need to focus their attention?
I think we have to be most concerned in this top lane for Bwipo, presumably pushing in the early game. If Trick puts his attention up there, which didn't work for them necessarily in game one, there is room with a melee champion alongside that Sejuani and the slows to just chase that Karma down the lane and get some early kills.
Absolutely a good option. And on the opposite side, see what Fnatic can bring to the table. The Pyke, the Lee Sin, so many iconic picks for the Fnatic lineup. Will it be enough to get them off to a 2-0 start in this series? The series we've heard could all be about momentum. Schalke looking crushed after game one, but potentially the chance to recover as we hear more from Schalke's coach and Lord.
Dylan, the Karma pick seemed problematic in game one, so why did you let it through again?
I think the Karma pick is only really good when their bot lane is doing really good in the game or ahead, and because of some draft errors and play errors, their bot was very strong, so I think in this game it'll be better.
Can you explain why? A little bit different?
Draft, for sure, and then we also took a really bad fight at the Rift Herald.
Well, I wish you good luck on this one, and back to you guys.
And here we are. Fnatic versus Schalke. Rekkles going to the mid lane gets me really hopeful for some really crazy swaps, but
He just wants Klepto stacks. You calm down there, buddy.
Let me believe. All right, I'm ready for insanity. I'm already surprised he's not playing the Karma.
I mean, I think the biggest surprise here is going to be the double sweeper coming out of Fnatic at level 1 from both mid lane and bottom lane. Could just be that they want the extra experience to take over to level 2 faster, but also maybe room to just sweep away vision inside the river and give Broxah some freedom to make some level 2 plays.
So I'm keeping my eyes on Odoamne. We talked in the draft about how he may look to match up against the Akali, but for now it seems that he's going to be sticking to the top side of the map. So Odoamne will be playing into the Karma early levels. Abbedagge will be playing into Nemesis on the Akali as well. And I feel like that this does give Fnatic some pretty favorable matchups in terms of their 2 solo lanes.
So if we look at the map right now, we just saw some sweepers being cleared out in that bottom side of the jungle around here and here, down on that bottom side river for Fnatic. Of course, using those sweepers early, we're going to look at Broxah. Probably ward hop over this wall at level 2. He just used his W, so can't do that, but path inside that Schalke blue buff side of the jungle.
Oh, he's going straight to bot lane.
Could just do that too. That's a bold call though.
TF's at 740 will get hooked back. Aftershock proc, but the Lantern comes out. Smart level up from IgNar to take that one, but still has to be careful. Broxah now moving into the brush.
Not spotted.
It could be everything. He has Lantern. Ward has been laid down. Do they know he's here? They know that the ward is cleared out. They have to respect the potential for the Lee Sin to come in, but if this hooks lands, it could be disaster. It will miss. IgNar gets the sidestep. It will not connect in the end.
Broxah just committed so much time there, so he needs Fnatic's bot lane to have this push lead to be able to back him up inside the jungle. Yes, Broxah strong at level 2 on this Lee Sin, but Trick is already here and has the smite. It will be a fight.
IgNar now stepping up to support, but only the Lantern for the Thresh. Remember, no threat of follow-up CC. Hylissang here, though, and the level 2 as well. The Pyke could be massive. Hook is going to go in, is going to connect on IgNar. Abbedagge now coming over the wall. Fnatic, have they bitten off more than they can chew? They set their eyes on Trick, but he flashes out to safety. Broxah goes in! First blood, the Sonic Wave, but Abbedagge now caught in the midst of the Fnatic beat grinder once again. And a double kill drop for Broxah. Another hook! IgNar, he only has the Lantern. He can't play them back to safety, but he's got just enough health to survive for now.
And Fnatic, 3 minutes into the game, walk away with 2 kills and a 1.5k gold advantage already. You can hear the crowd rallying behind Fnatic, who look dominant in this early game.
That is Fnatic's 6th man as Athens comes alive for 2 kills in the early game. It was a huge investment for Broxah, but it pays off in the end as we take a look at this Alienware replay.
Absolutely everything worked out. Level lead for that bottom lane based off the push and also the sweeper ward kill at level 1. Broxah gets the smite. The bot lane from Schalke is still level 1, so Broxah lands that Q to follow Trick over the wall. That's going to be first blood. Then Abbedagge had already committed into the fight. There is nowhere for him to go. This level 1 plan from Fnatic came together, clearing away the wards inside of the river and knowing they were ready to fight Schalke inside their own jungle.
Oh, it might just happen again, but Upset, very confident man, not scared of Hylissang walking out of that brush there, will not try to sidestep. So has to be careful though. Hylissang continuing to look scary on this Pyke.
So Fnatic have had a pretty solid start to the game.
You could say, yeah, I would say so.
Ooh, Hylissang getting a little bit over eager there in the 2 versus 2. You can see a pretty big health advantage on the side of Schalke that he does have to respect. But the big thing is the difference in levels now between the 2 junglers. We talk all the time about how against Fnatic, you have to be very careful about giving them an early game lead, because as they showcased versus G2 last week, the moment this team gets an early game lead, they know exactly what to do with it, and they snowball games incredibly quickly. For Schalke, the best thing they can do is try and stall things out and then play through the mid game, where they actually have a lot of strong champions and easy ways to force fights. Now that they're at this deficit, a lot more pressure falls on Trick to be able to get some of his laners back into the game, because if this deficit continues to snowball, Fnatic are not going to give Schalke room to breathe in the mid game.
And specifically when we're looking at how does Fnatic move this game forward, it's through this middle lane. Broxah, of course, giving Nemesis attention now to try and help him push out this wave. But when we talk about the mid lane 2 versus 2, this is the most important matchup on the entire map at the moment, because with champions like Akali and Aatrox, they want to run around, they want to fight you inside the river. So if you have priority, if you have the winning duel matchup, you always get to contest Scuttle Crabs, you always get to move to side lanes first. And because Broxah got the first 2 kills in the bottom lane, we're going to be looking at like a 7 or 8 minute warrior enchant for him. That's going to be so huge and basically insta-win any fight around mid for Fnatic.
So much pressure now on Schalke to survive, as you mentioned, but this isn't the traditional survive comp. It's not a control mage in the mid lane to clear out all the waves. So they cannot afford to get any further down into the hole, down into a deficit. Broxah, just like last game, total control over this early drag. He's going to make sure that his laners are that much more comfortable.
Picking up that early Drake, utilizing early pressure very well. Nemesis doing an early TP back to mid. We'll pick up that Vamp Scepter and start roaming down. He's now hit that level 6 mark, and they're pinging around the bot side of the map. I think going for a dive this early on would be quite risky, so for now he's just going to assist. Maybe look for a pick onto IgNar.
Might be a lot risky unless IgNar gets caught out by the hook over the wall, baited and instantly destroyed. They're going to give the kill over to Rekkles. 300 quick gold for the Fnatic AD carry.
Beautiful hook coming out of Hylissang right there. Fnatic have painted targets on every single member of Schalke's back in this game, and they continue to find kill after kill after kill. This one, it looks like it's blind. He just guessed it.
And that is a disgusting play from Hylissang. I feel like there had to have been some information that he walked into that brush, but Hylissang with a perfect read to pick up the 3rd kill for Fnatic.
It's cheating! You're not allowed to do that!
It looks like he has wall hacks on right now.
You can't just backban someone on the fly.
Oh
here,
man,
Vedius.
great predictions there from Hylissang. Gets Fnatic another kill in the early game, and now they're sitting at an over 2k gold advantage, and it's all come off the back of Broxah, someone who's definitely had a bit of an up and down split, but he performed well against G2 last week, and he's performing very well once again against the likes of Schalke.
And we talked about the pressure on Trick, and of course the success of the picks that would come out. Pyke for Hylissang so dominant, but Trick didn't even get a chance to play the game. At level 2, the game was already over for him. He's put in such a deficit. Now he's playing catch up the entire time, and it's not just him anymore, but the entire Schalke lineup.
And we just noticed there, once again, the Fnatic Classic, the 3 members mid lane. We saw Broxah and Hylissang working with Nemesis to help him gain priority. And again, notice that they don't do a huge amount with it. It's just a simple ward in the river, but it provides an extra bit of safety for Nemesis. It helps the wave bounce back. And by playing like that, it makes it very safe as well, because there were always 3 people mid, so even if Schalke answer, Fnatic have the people to respond.
And when was the last time you saw a bot lane scared of an Ezreal? That's my question for you. Hiding back, waiting to make sure that they have the information they need. And more importantly, Ender, I want to correct a bit of analysis that you had earlier. You see 3K in Broxah's pocket. You told me 8-minute warrior enchant. You got that at 7 minutes.
Okay, I said 7 to 8 minutes, so I was right on the money there.
I heard 8. That's all I'm saying.
I also said mid lane 2v2, incredibly important. Now with level 6 and the warrior enchant, if Trick goes in here, it could get turned around straight in his face.
Keep an eye on the ult. Misexecution in the past has cost Schalke a lot in the mid lane. Abbedagge's biggest enemy is not his Nemesis facing him down, but has often been the mid lane tower. The play on the top side continues to extend. Bwipo the Karma will be a slow demise for Odoamne if they want to extend. I think they're going to be happy to body block there on the Q. What's the team now retreating? Abbedagge pulling back, still has the ultimate up and available. Fnatic kind of just hovering on the cusp of hook on the Broxah will connect. They need that shutdown, and they're going to get it in the end. Shutdown on the Broxah. This is the chance to turn. Hylissang now runs for the hill. Ezreal ultimate coming out. Hylissang still on the tree, but you have to keep your eyes on Nemesis in the backline. How many kills can he clean up? Rekkles is here now too. Trick is running away. IgNar needs to get Abbedagge out to safety. He's in the midst of the meat grinder. He's going to grab one. He gets the reset. No! It is Fnatic who are stuck in with Abbedagge. Nemesis now on the retreat. And Schalke find the turn on the play.
Schalke finally find the fight that they need. They want to keep hunting Rekkles down.
Flash the play. IgNar waiting for a hook opportunity. It's there as well. He's pulled back into his own territory, but Abbedagge will grab another one. That's 3 kills for the Aatrox.
They had to make that play work. Things started crumbling around that level 2 play inside of their jungle, but it's Trick zeroing in on Broxah, knocking him out immediately, and the rest of Schalke there to follow it up.
But Schalke did something that they very rarely do. They had IgNar roam up to the mid lane very early on and create a 3v3 situation, which means that Fnatic were not guaranteed pressure.
Hold that thought. Sonic Wave, if it lands, he's dead. Goodbye. Boom! That's a Fed sin. No matter how good your mid laner's doing, you cannot disrespect Broxah in that top lane play.
So Fnatic is able to, at the very least, get a kill back after that exchange, but Schalke responding well to what Fnatic often do. They punish Broxah, who thinks he's safe because he sees 3 people around him and doesn't respect the pick power of IgNar. IgNar now making his way top. Bwipo has no flash.
Has to sidestep the hook. That's still going to put him behind in the end, trying to get the movement speed, but IgNar's getting lower and lower. Broxah still here. The flash forward. They trade off more than they can do. The pullback. Bwipo's still alive. They're going to kill him. Bwipo goes down in the end, but Fnatic still come out on top.
Broxah didn't have to use the ult in that tower dive, so he is there to find the 2 kills. That whole play was initiated by Schalke trying to come up for a potential Herald, but now Hylissang trying his luck in mid.
Abbedagge here. Stun will not connect. Abbedagge desperately trying to retreat. The execute comes down, death from below, and the shutdown right back into the pocket of Hylissang.
This game is starting to get quick, Drakos. It will not slow down now either as Broxah goes in. The Red Spite doing really bad stuff to him.
Trick is just destroying him in this trade. He gets stunned up, locked down, smoked right out of the play. Another shutdown going over, but Hylissang continuing to play on the bottom side.
Yeah, here we go. Hylissang looking for it on towards Odoamne. He has the minions try and block the damage from Rekkles. The dive should be coming through, but IgNar's on the way.
Look at the pings in the river. Nemesis is making his way down towards the bot side of the map, but a good equalizer there from Odoamne is going to stop the dive from happening. Fnatic immediately come back out onto the map. They try to force a lot of plays, and this is the style Schalke needs to be able to keep up with. They found one good fight, but that's not enough. You've got to deal with the onslaught of Fnatic's early game.
It was the 1v1 between both junglers that had been going Fnatic's way all series long that Trick came out on top of. Coming out of that play where he solo kills Broxah, he then moves in and picks up the Rift Herald, which was the original objective for Schalke, mind you, swapping just before that 10-minute mark when it did spawn. So this is the initial play from Schalke when they see Bwipo, but Bwipo's gonna sidestep things nicely as he jukes back for the hook, and then Broxah just waits for the overstep. He still has kick, so he comes in, gets the bonus knockup onto Upset there as well for some big damage to knock down those 2 members.
Taking stock of things now, as you see the picture-in-picture, the Rift Herald has been used. We take a look back at this 1v1.
Then he takes this fight. He went blue smite, not the red, so you're never going to be able to win out in this one. The passive from Sejuani blocking a lot of damage at the start, and now on your screen, Schalke fighting back.
Doing what they can. At the end of the day, it is still a 2K gold lead for Fnatic. They are still very much in the lead. They have double Ocean as well, as Rekkles will get even more gold funneled into his back pocket. But you can see on the gold difference graph how chaotic this early game has been, how both teams have been forcing fights. Fnatic getting mashed a little bit in the early game by the side of Schalke.
Red team's turret has been destroyed.
So
take the free.
A couple out of towers have gone down. We're 12 minutes into the game and we're already at 12 kills. Things definitely starting to heat up, but as the map starts to open up more, we start to think about what both these teams are going to be looking to do. And I think it was something that Ender was saying earlier on where Fnatic's composition wants to get out of the laning phase. They want to try and leverage these skirmishes. Akali, Lee Sin, Pyke, exceptionally strong in these 2v3s, 3v3 situations where they can take advantage of their mobility and outplay potential. Whereas Schalke, they want to start grouping up, but not yet. They're still waiting for those items to come through. They're still waiting for those big spikes before they really start trying to force these engages.
I think Schalke are going to be looking for fights where they have the numbers advantage, because with this composition, you have tons of hard engage, right? With the Sejuani, the Rumble, a lot of long-range, non-committal CC, so they can be very select with how they choose their fights. And even down 4K gold, if they pick the right ones, if they pick the ones where they come in with an extra man, those are the types of fights that they will win.
But they still have to be careful, because even though the fights have been going back and forth and a lot of things have looked even, you can see that the CS tells us a bit of a different story. The laners have been suffering. 26 deficit for Odoamne on the top side, almost 20 in the mid lane for the likes of Abbedagge, and bot lane not doing too hot either. 132 to the 112 of upset.
Look, Odoamne showing so much respect towards Bwipo as well. He recognizes that there's a wave stacking up, and before Fnatic even move, he's already backing off because he can't see what's going on. Schalke are then using this time to move towards bot lane, and Odoamne smartly, once again, utilizing the Rumble ultimate to save time, has given Schalke this great opportunity to actually set up vision towards the bot side of the map. They've got all this control, allowing them to actually threaten Nemesis and prevent him from pushing up as far as he would like.
Schalke also grouping around that middle lane. You saw Trick inside the Raptor pit wall, threatening and engage. This team loves to fight you just in the open space of the middle lane by utilizing good flanks and a numbers advantage. They will often sack their side lane. Keep your eyes on Odoamne a lot in this game. Just give up on a wave to move on over when his team is ready to fight around mid.
And I just love to see this. Players recognizing where they do not have pressure on the map and just conceding. They don't try to be a hero. They don't try to make miracles happen. They just back away from the tower because they know that the trade will come out and they will be able to catch the wave once the tower comes down. And Nemesis is in a position where that bot tower may not even go down. And notice that Fnatic, after pushing in top, have now started rotating around to mid.
Collapse is there. Hylissang hooked up. It will not be enough at this stage. Bottom lane tower will fall in the end to upset. Hylissang playing with fire a bit there, forced to flash out to safety. A good flank from IgNar, but it will cost him both of his summoner spells. As Bwipo starts to collapse on mid, this could be disastrous for Schalke. They do not have the Rumble ult up and available.
Yeah, Odo just trying to clear away this minion wave right now. Bwipo does so much damage
onto IgNar, leaping forward, but the stopwatch buys him a brief respite. Can he survive in the end? The Sonic Wave will not connect his Abbedagge on the flank. Bwipo has to flash out to safety, but Abbedagge is hungry for a little bit more. The ulti comes in, the healing comes in, but meanwhile, Upset will take out Hylissang. Abbedagge is buying so much time for the rest of his team. Rekkles now needs to run, but can continue to press forward. Odoamne is isolated, but in the end, Bwipo will go down. Broxah now has to retreat in enemy territory. I don't think he's going to be able to make this one out. Is he going to try to do it? He cannot in the end. Broxah will get taken down by Trick.
Schalke found a split fight right there, but it was Abbedagge on one side, and the sustain of Aatrox could not be cut through from Fnatic. The rest of Schalke zeroed in on Hylissang, were able to turn that fight in their favor.
But also, Fnatic, they tried to force that dive when they really didn't need to. It was a really good stopwatch from IgNar. Ooh, we don't have time. Another fight is happening.
Flash out to safety, but Nemesis is just going to walk in, gets the kill, and walks out as well. Wasted TP from the side of Odo.
But Schalke just won such a huge fight, and then they immediately throw it away by giving this kill over to Nemesis. A lot of craziness happening right now as we see this dive. Initially, when it comes out from Bwipo and the stopwatch comes through, Fnatic need to disengage. Bwipo recognized, okay, Abbedagge is there, I need to try and get out, but notice, Hylissang is stuck in the mid lane, two members of Fnatic are pathing up towards top, and they need to be disengaging, they need to try and get out of this situation. Instead, they commit to the fight. Broxah misses a huge Q, which means that they can't commit to that 2 versus 1, but then the Rumble ultimate comes through, and Schalke can continue with this collapse.
There were definitely split calls in that moment from Fnatic, because Hylissang was trying to solo zone away the Sejuani, and then got the Akali to TP there to help him. That was not where the fight actually was for them. They needed to be attacking Abbedagge and putting all the resources into that top end after Bwipo had gone so deep. Schalke realized that and were able to punish them.
Hook will connect now. Both teams gearing up for the fight. Hook will connect onto Upset as well. Both supports trading with huge damage onto Upset. Almost all of his health is gone. There goes the ultimate. Upset forced to use his ultimate response. Now has to pull back, now has to retreat, not a ton of wave clear, but Abbedagge instead is going to try to get a fight kicked off. Hylissang caught out, leaping back though into the Rumble Equalizer. No one will go down. Meanwhile, Broxah's just taking a Drake. Fnatic just buying time for their jungler to get this objective uncontested.
Schalke are not a team that just waits back when you beat them. They will try to contest you. In that moment, yes, Upset had gotten smashed in the mid lane, had been forced to reset, but they knew multiple members of Fnatic were on the Drake, and this is Schalke's home turf in the mid lane. This is where they look to team fight time and time again. If they have a numbers advantage, they will go in.
They're going to be pulled out to safety. Odoamne doing what he can to clear the wave. The hook will not connect on the Bwipo. Hylissang using his hook back, but there's so many members now. It's 5v5 right in the midst of this. Odoamne is going to get chunked out. He doesn't even have an ultimate. Broxah going to take him down. 1-for-1 in the end as Karma drops.
So that was a pretty big misplay from Bwipo, but Fnatic still able to pull it back at the very least 1-for-1. That mid lane tower is very low as well. They only have 2 members though, so I don't think they want to overcommit. Instead, they're just going to... No, Rekkles is looking at this. I feel like he should really consider a reset. But for the time being, he's not going to go for it. Now, what I wanted to say before all this, never mind, we still want to have a chance to say it as we see the fight actually kick off here. So Trick secures the blue buff, Fnatic looking for a potential pick onto IgNar, but all that ends up happening is they find a collapse onto Fnatic instead. Now, Odoamne is just taking a huge amount of damage from Rekkles, and Broxah snipes him out, but if it weren't for Rekkles making up for that small mistake, that could have just been another free kill going over to Schalke. And what we're seeing now is Schalke close that gold gap that was so big earlier on. They've been able to mitigate a lot of the early pressure that Fnatic have been exerting, and now they're transitioning into the mid game with not that big of a deficit, which means that there's a lot more hope for Schalke in this game compared to what we saw in game 1.
It's good news, especially down in the bottom lane, because I think we have to compare Upset versus Rekkles in this game. Upset on the Ezreal, very strong on 2 items. That's where he's at, stacking up the Man Immune, whereas Upset really wants to finish off a rapid fire cannon and then an Infinity Edge on top. So he needs more time before he comes online. So the longer these fights continue to trade roughly even, and Schalke can stick in this game up against Fnatic, Upset is just going to get stronger and stronger and stronger.
And we're also not waiting for an Olaf to fall off on the side of Schalke. This Sejuani that we've seen Trick pick up so many times has been doing work for the Schalke team. We were surprised when Fnatic let it through. We thought we might be wrong when we saw it get put down early, but Schalke have been fighting back at every step of this game. However, Fnatic now turn their sights towards the mid lane tower, and I don't think Schalke can hold this one more time.
Well, Trick is lying in wait for Fnatic to overcommit, which they are not going to do. And notice again, Abbedagge pushing in the bot side of the map because he feels pretty safe. Good vision control from the side of Schalke, invested in the bot side of the map. Meanwhile, Nemesis doing the same. Both teams creating points of pressure for the opposition to match. While Schalke look to group mids, Bwipo stays bot. They want to keep pushing these lanes. So Schalke is sacrificing farm in order to try and force a fight. This is something we often see from Schalke. Bring their side laners to group so they can force a numbers advantage. Unfortunately for them, Fnatic is playing way too defensively. Rekkles sitting on the back line. Remember how much mobility that they have as well. Fnatic not giving any opportunities for Schalke to try and force this fight.
This idea of leaving your lane and then roaming to your team to try and find a flank is something both teams love to do, especially you think about players like IgNar, Odoamne, Hylissang on the side of Fnatic. They love to try and find these angles, so it's going to be so crucial to watch which one can actually be unseen on enemy vision.
For me, the biggest difference is that Fnatic will not hemorrhage farm in order to try and force a play, whereas Schalke will. Odoamne is a player who often gets left on the back burner for himself, and if you only look at the difference between the 2 top laners, he's already 50 CS down. Now, of course, that's in part due to how the laning phase has gone, but it's also because of how Schalke choose to play, and we already see him lose 2 farms up towards the top side of the map to try and group down and force this fight, whereas Bwipo and Nemesis still gaining all this farm, all these resources, while still being able to group up with their team.
The biggest difference, of course, that Fnatic will full push their lanes before they move to mid lane, whereas Schalke, when their team calls, and I think when it's Trick calling for a fight in the mid lane, Odo's like, he picks up and goes. He doesn't care if his lane is being pushed in, and he's going to lose CS to the tower.
And now Schalke doing what they can to clear out a little bit of vision here. To find Fnatic waiting. Abbedagge goes over the wall. Fnatic now pulling back, respecting the pressure that Schalke has, the man advantage that they have. You can see Nemesis still on the top side, farming up. But they've cut out Hylissang. They're going to lock him down. They're going to try to take him out, but it's not enough. He flashes out to safety. The hook comes through. Will connect on the Rekkles, but the QSS is there. A lot of damage, but it is not enough to find a kill. Double TP is now coming in. They got the flank. Ult from Odo has to be crucial. Abbedagge still remains in. They're fighting in the midst of the equalizer. This is massive for Schalke, but they can't turn it. Rekkles is still alive. He'll take down Abbedagge in the meantime. The hook comes out. Odoamne will sidestep, and a lantern ferries him right out to safety. Only one down on the side of Schalke.
Fnatic still on the hunt though, and they're so good at chasing you in these longer team fights with the slows from Ezreal, the hooks from Hylissang. You always have to be on guard, and that's why Schalke must give up this tower.
But also look at the side waves. They're perfectly set up for Fnatic to move whichever one they want to. They have a big stack up top, so that's going to be their prerogative, and it's easy for them to convert what was a failed team fight from the side of Schalke into what will likely be two big objectives.
This is the result of this whole conversation we were having earlier. Trick actually wants to keep going forward. I don't know about this.
Has to be careful. Upset's already been chunked out.
TV behind. Odo's coming in on the flank. He does not have the equalizer, but he's here with Abbedagge. They want to force this fight before Fnatic go back.
This could also be the final nail in the coffin if they overcommit here. Hylissang is going in. He's fishing for the hook. He will not find a target. Abbedagge needs to be careful. Infernal Chance will pull back. Broxah potentially fishing for the engage. The Sonic or the ulti just going to come off cooldown. Not quite used yet. Bwipo has taken down IgNar. Abbedagge in the midst of the entire team desperately trying to get something. There's no grievous wounds. The ultimate comes out. Can he heal enough? It is not going to happen. There it is. It's so much healing back. Abbedagge desperate to stay alive. The Aatrox. He's still living for now. He's holding on, but Odo goes down in the meantime. Well,
what is going on?
The rest of the team is just dying left and right. Abbedagge will make it out alive, but at what cost?
At the cost of the Baron Drakos right there, because it is Bwipo that turns around a 1v3 and finds 2 kills by himself, while Fnatic chase down for another one. They are on the Baron. Yes, Trick is up. Yes, he has Smite, but this is looking all Fnatic.
Desperation plays being made by Schalke. That flank from Odo with no ulti was such a dangerous
They want the
play.
turn.
Desperations. Abbedagge now going in, upset in the midst of the team. He's going to pull back the feathers. Who can he take down? He's buying time. He's waiting. He needs to pull them back soon. He needs to make it out to safety. IgNar now coming in, has the lantern to save, but he can only save one. Upset now on the retreat. Nemesis going in, fishing for that kill. Upset slowed. Upset taken down. Fnatic will grab another one. Hylissang fishing for more. IgNar will not get hooked. Fnatic will back away again.
Fnatic are unrelenting. Fight after fight, the fights never end for this team. They don't rely on massive cooldowns to chase you down. They just want you to walk in, and that's exactly what Schalke keep doing. Schalke had to contest them around the Baron. And yes, they were able to stop Fnatic from picking that one up, but Fnatic continued to rack up money on money on money.
So this is after the initial fight in mid lane, when Schalke tried to set up a TP flank with both Abbedagge and Odoamne, but their ultimates were not available. So they can't commit. Look at how Upset and Trick is just forced out of the fight because of how much health they lose to the poke. Then IgNar, after seeing 2 of his members reset, goes for the all-in against Bwipo. Bwipo is easily able to find this 1 versus 1 kill, and he's just 1v2ing them. Meanwhile, on the other side, it's a 2 versus 4, and Fnatic are just cleaning up the likes of Schalke, who are doing what they can, and this is why we say it's desperation. Things are falling apart for Schalke. They're trying to find these fights, and they are not able to properly execute. They are not able to find the fights that they want, and it is Fnatic that are coming out on top every time.
Punishing the Hail Mary, but we have to hold that thought because there's another fight. Now breaking out. The Lantern once again going to save another member of Schalke, but Hylissang is fishing. Can he land the hook? Will not connect.
Abbedagge is bot lane right now without teleport. So Fnatic, even without Baron, are just running straight down this middle lane. Schalke have the engage, so Fnatic will back up. There's the equalizer.
Could be a difference maker. The ultimate will not connect from Trick. That is disastrous. The Lantern pulls him back up to safety, but they get so many cooldowns from Schalke at such little cost.
Abbedagge still on that flank, mind you. Schalke, even down 7,000 gold, they know how to force fights and they keep trying to look it, but you have to land those key cooldowns or you're never going to find it.
Fnatic now need to gain control of a top wave. They don't have teleports available, so they're just going to have to abandon bot for now, but they can set up to threaten Baron. Their main priority should be able to get control of a topside jungle. They have enough control wards to be able to do it, and they want to try and starve Schalke out from the Baron. Then I think their options are to primarily look for picks. They don't need to force a fight. They don't need to try and force the Baron because of how much gold they have. It is way easier to just catch Schalke members trying to clear out vision and punish them for it.
And the damage graph tells us a very distinct story. Bwipo, of course, poking out in the top lane. Rekkles poking as well, but the lack of damage from the Rumble, from the Xayah, every equalizer forced to clear waves outside of 1 or 2. Not the setup that Schalke were looking for with the mid-game power their composition provides, and now the siege just continues. Fnatic are unrelenting. The shields of the Karma keep the team healthy. The poke of the Ezreal and the Karma denies Schalke an avenue into this play, but Hylissang continues to look for these hooks.
Schalke has to recall. Trick must go back to the base, and Fnatic own this jungle. Everything going their ways. They just set up, they wait, they force Schalke to walk into them. Schalke only have 1 blue trinket to their name, and IgNar must walk into enemy territory if he's to put down vision of his own.
Clean and simple execution coming out from Fnatic. Not doing anything fancy, they're just playing very well through 2 lanes, utilizing pressure and vision very expertly. Schalke being suffocated out of their vision, being limited in terms of their options, and Fnatic, they have to be careful when starting the Baron because they don't have a primary tank that can just soak up all that damage. Bwipo can act as the temporary one by utilizing his shields, and he's not the primary damage dealer when it comes to taking it down, but why bother? Why run the risk? Instead, just utilize the fact that you control the entire topside map to continue looking for picks, roam between mid and top, and then slowly threaten onto the base of Schalke.
I love the itemization coming through from Fnatic as well here. Look at Bwipo and Nemesis with the Liandry's Torment on both of them. They know these fights are going to last forever. They know there's a lot of melee champions with a lot of HP that they can stack up that bonus increased damage over time with on those two items. Means the longer these fights go, though we're already favoring Fnatic, just going to be that much more in their favor.
And on top of that, the gold lead letting them get 2 QSSs. Now Broxah picking up like a stopwatch as well. That Hylissang will be able to go into the backline and get out unscathed on the back of Engage. It can be a fantastic scenario and upset bits and pieces towards that third item. The Null Magic Mantle presumably building towards the QSS, delaying that Infinity Edge, that all-crucial damage item.
Well, Schalke will need to get to those big item points soon because now Fnatic have access to teleports once again. This means that they don't need to play through 2 lanes, they can start playing through 3, which makes the Baron Dance that much more dangerous. Because once Fnatic regain control over the top side of the map, they can very easily just create this split push situation where Schalke is forced between trying to deal with the pressure bots or with trying to deal with the fact that Fnatic is setting up around the Baron.
Overall now, eyes on the Fnatic lineup, see exactly how they want to close this one out. They can play it slow and steady, as you mentioned. They don't really need to force bigger fights. They can wait for an advantageous situation. They have the poke, they have the pick, they have the engage tools that they need. What can Schalke do now to fire back? 14-9 the score, 53.7 to 46K. Schalke falling further and further behind is kind of the systematic choke out of resources. Schalke finally able to get vision back in their own jungle, but there's no camps to take, so there's no additional gold, there's no additional XP.
So Upset just completed his Infinity Edge, 3 items now done. Meanwhile, the 4th item is ready for Rekkles. Control Ward picked up alongside the Mercurial Scimitar, and Rekkles is extremely strong at this point. The Inferno will be spawning. Schalke will likely not run the risk of trying to contest this. Instead, they'll use this opportunity to reclaim some vision control around the top side of the map. You can already see some of this vision come to fruition. They have a ward on the Baron, they have a ward on the red, but it means they have to sacrifice the bot side of the map, and so they will concede this.
This is a nightmare. The Hylissang, the Akali, even the Pyke, every single member of Fnatic benefits from the Inferno. We almost never see a composition built like that, but Fnatic has one. And it is the nightmare case for Schalke. Not only is the Baron the thing that they have to fear, but they can never afford to trade it for an Elder Drake at this stage of the game.
We're going to be seeing 2 Rabadon's Death Caps come in soon for both Bwipo and Nemesis too, so just continue to stack up that percentage AP. Going to be so hard for Schalke to fight into Fnatic. But for Fnatic, actually extending this game, it's going to come down to objectives, because forcing fights with Fnatic is difficult. They're going to rely on picks and dominating vision inside the enemy jungle, or simply starting up the Baron and daring Schalke to run into them. They have the gold lead. It should be enough for them to start it up and make Schalke come in towards them, but actually doing it themselves is hard.
Will connect. Can they actually stop Hylissang from getting out? He's trying to desperately get to safety, but Odoamne will snipe the kill out with the ultimate in the end.
Horrendous mistake from Hylissang there. Where was the setup we were just praising Fnatic for as he just face checks Trick and IgNar in their half of the jungle, which they had just reclaimed over. Abbedagge now on the chase onto Bwipo.
TV behind.
Upset has to be careful. He could be the one picked off. Abbedagge incredibly low. He's already burned the ultimate. He needs to make it out to safety, but Nemesis now coming in, looking for a fight to get kicked off. The Blast Cone takes it back. Nemesis on a killing spree, and huge damage comes in from the Karma. Lots of members of the Schalke lineup chunk. Nemesis now fishing for a little bit more. The second stack of the ult will be used.
Schalke had just gotten the pick onto Hylissang that should have given them more control over the map, but instead Abbedagge gets picked, Fnatic teleport in, and shut down that power play. Now, moving into that topside jungle becomes so easy to get that control that had just been denied from them.
And this is something that you talked about, Vedius. This is something that we looked at with Fnatic, when they have those TPs up, when they can play all 3 lanes, and it's clearly something that Schalke are not respecting enough, the potential for these TP flanks to come through.
It feels like that whenever Schalke gets some kind of edge back onto the map, they then just over-push it. They think, we can keep going, and then Fnatic just punish them. And now they're looking for another one of those picks, but again, look at the minimap. You can see the collapse coming in from the bot side, and now they're looking to collapse onto the 3 members of Schalke.
Get caught in, but now they're looking to burn TPs with their own. Fnatic, will they keep going on the play? Hylissang stepping forward, the hook lands onto Upset, but the rest of the team now is coming in. Odoamne, ultimate almost available. He's looking for it, he's waiting for it, he sees the pinch, he sees the opportunity. Will he find it? Trick lands to CC, the perfect ult, but it's not enough. Fnatic are still making it out to safety. Hylissang Waiting on the dash, waiting for a quick dash over the wall. Bwipo's now coming to back him up. He doesn't even need it. He can look for the execution. Trick goes down. Hylissang goes out, and still, Fnatic come out on top.
Schalke just cannot find the engage because of how much mobility is on the side of Fnatic. They were forced to TP in response, and now Fnatic is not done. They're continuing the chase.
Abbedagge now going in, they're fishing, upset onto the backside, throws out the ultimate, grabs the lantern as well. He might be able to make it to safety, but they have to be careful. Abbedagge sacrificing his life for the team to escape, but the Aatrox cannot get anything back. Huge damage comes in. He will take down Hylissang, but meanwhile in the mid lane, the minions doing work for Fnatic. The tower not quite going to fall yet. Odoamne will clear this one out.
And Fnatic can now move back towards the Baron. Trick is going to be dead for another 10 seconds. The fight was long, the fight was scrappy, but time after time after time, it is Fnatic that come out on top, and it's Fnatic on the Baron.
TP coming in, 3K and dropping. There's no way they can get this one. Maybe they can stop the backs. Maybe they can catch Fnatic sleeping, but Nemesis is not going to have it. He's fishing for another kill instead. Fnatic are relentless in their pressure. Will finally look for a reset here, but even now, Bwipo's tempting fate as he steps into Schalke's jungle.
But now Fnatic have the objective that they want. Let's have a look back at this replay, and you can see how difficult it is for them to just lock this team down. There are so many dashes, so many disengage tools. Kick from Broxah, which wasn't even used. The amount of dashes available on Hylissang, his great health as well. He was able to find that execute onto Trick, and this was the go button that Fnatic needed to then look for that re-engage.
And at the end of the day, this is the execution we wanted from Schalke. They time their cooldowns well, they get the engage they want. It's just not enough against Fnatic in this composition. They simply cannot lock down the entire team the way they need to with this Rumble Equalizer. And while Abbedagge does get a single kill, you can see how Fnatic just dance around them in that fight.
But it also feels that Fnatic is just dictating the pace of the game. They're the puppet masters controlling the strings, and every time it is Schalke trying to cut the strings away from them, but they're never able to, and Fnatic just make them look like fools as they dance around them in every fight.
And as they continue to get further and further ahead, with the Rabadons coming through on their solo laners with the double Infernals, Bwipo almost has 700 AP at 34 minutes in the game. This karma absolutely hurts, and as Fnatic split up into this full court press, every single one of their lanes is stronger than their counterpart on the side of Schalke.
Single shield from Bwipo, 500. Almost enough to protect exactly what Rumble wants to do in a team fight, not even countering the mantra. He does want to use it up. It's going to get harder and harder. Fnatic with the poke, Fnatic with the engage tools, and they split up the map as well. Across 3 lanes, Fnatic are playing strong. TP up for Rekkles and Bwipo if they need to collapse the hook. Not going to be the miracle that Schalke need. The QSS there for Rekkles as well. One tower is going to go down. Tower in the mid lane also going to be at risk. Fnatic are just walking into the base from Schalke. Schalke have to pull the trigger. They need to be decisive. They need to make something happen, but they cannot find an opportunity.
They can't engage anywhere because they're going to lose something, but instead, they're just losing everything. Fnatic will secure the first inhibitor in the top lane. The Baron empowered cannon minions are doing work in the bot side as well.
The only chance for Schalke is to force a fight on a grouped up section of Fnatic, but instead now it's 2 members top 2 mid, 1 in the bottom lane. There's just nothing they can do. They must make the play.
Trick goes in. Hylissang once again caught out, but he's just going to dash out to safety. The Ezreal ulti does so much damage. Bwipo, that was huge. The karma with the death cap just deletes Schalke. And now they're just stood waiting, knowing that this is going to move to match point for Fnatic. There is no hope left for the side of Schalke here in Game 2. They have to come back together going into Game 3 because Fnatic are here to play. Fnatic are here to dominate. They are not shaken from their series versus G2, and they will move up to match point in the semifinal.
Last week, Fnatic were 1 win away from putting themselves in the finals. Today, they find themselves in the same position. It is now about closing. It is now about pulling through for this squad to give us the rematch we've all been waiting for.
And it feels like last week, Fnatic, they should have 3-0 G2. They should have taken that series home, and they know they should have been the ones in the final. And it feels like they're coming into today, they're here to prove it. Their early games have been exceptional. And while this game, we did see a couple of mistakes. We saw the game get slowed down because some fights did not go in the way of Fnatic. The moment Schalke got over-eager and tried to overforce is the moment Fnatic came back and started to punish.
And reminding us that Fnatic are not a team that's going to break so easily under pressure. Even when, hey, early game start looks good, Schalke are able to fight back. They do not tilt, they stay focused, they keep their eyes on the prize, and they close out the game cleanly. It was dominance coming in from Fnatic in Game 2, and if Game 3 looks anything like this, the series might just be over right here.
You have to ask, what can Schalke even do now? We saw, a draft mistake. Dylan Falco on the stage said it himself. They came in with a new plan in this game, but their new plan was to give over the Akali to Nemesis. It was to give the Lee Sin towards Broxah, the Pyke for Hylissang. It still did not seem like the right answer for Schalke.
You know what? Their plan didn't matter, Ender, because they lost everything at level 2. They got forced out of their own jungle. Things started to collapse almost immediately, and we talked about how we wanted to see a shake-up from the draft for Schalke coming into Game 2, have a lane that you can play around, and with Xayah, Thresh, I could see that as a lane you could try to attack. It's a potential option for you, but when that level 2 play happens and you get put behind, Trick's early game options get limited, and it just feels like Fnatic say, okay, you want early game? We'll give you even more coming into Game 2.
Right, it's always Fnatic that come in with the better early game plan. There's a reason why we joke about Fnatic level 1s, because they always have these distinct strategies to invade you, to pressure you, do all that. Well, this game, it was a level 2 play, and Schalke did not see it coming.
No, it 100% worked out. But to get more insight on Fnatic's win, let's check in with the analyst desk.
Thank you very much. 2-0 up for Fnatic. They have found themselves in this place before, but something tells me that it might end differently than it did last week. Fnatic looking fantastic so far, and some changes from both sides coming into the draft in this Game 2. Yamato, I'm going to go to you first, because you said that you feel that the Karma pick in the top lane coming out of Bwipo is a distinct counter to anything that Odoamne does.
I think Karma is a perfect champion in this matchup because so many bans are coming in. They know the enemy team needs to ban Yuumi, needs to ban Twisted Face, sometimes Aatrox. They let go of the Aatrox this time. Akali was first picked. Karma is fantastic into the Rumble. You mantra E, and all of a sudden that spell that is a 15-second cooldown just counters the whole ability. Also on top of that, it's great into the Cannon, great into Nico, all these champions that we know that Odoamne likes to play. Into Karma, you want to play the Sylas, you want to play the Jace. Good luck in esports if Schalke play those.
If that is that. Deficio, a couple of adaptations also coming in then. From the side of Schalke, did they do what you wanted them to do?
I think we went more towards traditional Schalke team fighting. I think getting Sejuani again instead of Olaf was a big change. I think the Rumble, fun enough, we were actually sitting during the draft and we were looking at the Aatrox and we were kind of like, oh. Yamato was like, it's going to go mid, and we were kind of like, okay, I guess, then you can last pick something like Rumble and you have a bit more team fight. But I think even if it's a better draft for Schalke, Fnatic just have so many more tools in the game itself, especially early on, to start snowballing.
And even when these team fights eventually did start happening, all of those tools that you're talking for in the early game were also working very well for them in the 5v5s. Because the ability to disengage from kind of the big ultimates. As soon as the Rumble ultimate came down, as soon as the Sejuani ultimate was thrown out, it was multiple cleanses that came across. You have so much mobility on Fnatic's composition. They were able to arcane shift away, to kick back on Akali. There was just like no clean or clear targets that Schalke could attack with their 5v5 comp.
And it's really frustrating when you play against slippery champions like Ezreal, Karma, Lee Sin, or either they have movement speed buffs or they have like dashes, and you're trying to run like a single main engage in Sejuani, then you have a Rumble coming down on top of it, and you have an Aatrox who's just spamming abilities trying to catch up. So like the fact that you have so much range and mobility on the Fnatic side means as long as you're not behind and enemies forcing you into like, going through like a small entrance to an objective, you can just spread out and you can just play these team fights very spread, and they did that every single time.
Yeah, a lot of options for Fnatic and playing towards their comfort zone. I know also when we were looking at the draft that you guys had some doubts, specifically Yamato, about the Aatrox mid. I think Deficio as well, even though it's something that he has played in terms of, okay, will they get to those team fights and will they play around it or will they enable the Aatrox?
Hey, it's a pick. That's it.
It's a takeaway, I guess.
Well, look, I mean, the only reason I bring it up is because it was working out early.
Sure, yeah.
Abbedagge is definitely better than Odoamne on it. He played it a lot in the regular split.
Don't you have anything positive to say about this Aatrox?
It's a champion.
It's definitely a champion. A triple kill here on the screen. Lovely. Confidence booster.
I mean, I think one of the issues is that when you especially see this Aatrox over in side lanes, like the nice thing for Aatrox is that he is effective in team fights as he is in side lanes, but you don't get that same versatility in what Schalke are trying to play. Every time they kicked Abba out into a side lane, they would almost always pull him to look for a flank, which there are better picks to do that on. And if you look at Bwipo, when he faced Odo's Aatrox and when he faced Abba's Aatrox on both the Karma and the GP, there's that moment where he turns around and he's like, I know you can't hit me with these Qs. I know I can dance around you, break some ankles, and he constantly looks to turn those trades around. And I think it's just a pick that isn't working specifically against Fnatic and specifically for the versatility in Schalke's playstyle.
Okay.
I think the big thing here is Schalke did exactly what we wanted in terms of composition. We can argue the Aatrox, whatever, doesn't matter. They got the composition that we consider a Schalke composition. But I felt like the main thing that was the most difficult for them was that Fnatic was constantly, with their mobility, forcing skirmishes. The only tool that Schalke really had was to engage down mid lane. We saw quickly that they bought Quicksilver Sash, and all of a sudden that was out of the picture. And of course, Schalke.
Well, Hilly tried a few times to let Fnatic start a fight.
Yeah,
Schalke start a fight.
But see, I think that things fell apart for them even before we got to the team fight. I mean, the fact of the matter is that you have an Ezreal Pyke, and they're winning these lanes. And you saw that for Fnatic in the G2 series as well. Deficio, you brought it up. Like, Fnatic are able to win bot lanes that they should not win. And yes, it was through a lot of assistance with Broxah in that jungle, but this keeps happening for Fnatic. And it is so important because you then unlock. When you see Ezreal Pyke, we know that that's not for the 2v2 lane, that's for Hilly to roam around. But when you have a level 2 where level 1 IgNar is starting with a lantern because he's so terrified that someone's going to gank him, like, hold up, how do you give away a lane phase like that? He just walks in, he's like, I guess I have to take W because I'm against Fnatic right now.
But we should really praise like that play so much because I was looking at Sejuani starting topside, go bot, then level 2, when they have Thresh, they love to do like, you know, the flash flay into lantern gank on bot side, trying to get advantage for upset that way. Like I was 100% looking at that play happening, but it got completely countered when they took away the ward level 1 with sweeper on Hylissang, then Broxah comes down on bot side and gets the push. I think that was super cool play by Fnatic, really well done, and it countered the early game strategy of that Thresh pick.
Absolutely, it was beautiful, and I do have another couple of Broxah plays that I wanted to look at, specifically later. He makes an outplay in the top lane as well. After that, a questionable 1v1, but we're not going to take too much away from Broxah in that regard.
Ooh,
He was he sized that one up on the Sejuani, but this looked great. You're like, yeah, Broxah on Lee Sin, this feels good. Everything went to plan bottom. Now he wins the top side of the map.
And now he's like, all right, well, okay, here's Sejuani. And
Feeling myself.
Something that's crazy is that Broxah hasn't played a single game with Sejuani all split long. I think this is the time he realizes this is the secret weapon.
This
Maybe
is what he
G2,
needs
you know?
to play. It just gets
Look how OP
absolutely
it is.
demolished. Broxah has 3 kills already, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
No, sad for Broxah, but he did everything else right. And I think when you look at all the Fnatic games, Froska, it is just very hard to play against a team that consistently does this. And it's not that they're just always doing it through the same lane or always in the same manner. Even though they've been called one-dimensional in the past, I do think there's a lot more credit to be given to the way Fnatic approach these games.
And I think the conversation that we're having about like kind of mental fatigue or mental endurance, talking about Fnatic, we now have to look at the other side and look at Schalke.
Yeah.
The fact that Upset got his Xayah and that there was a huge portion of this game where Trick is actually babysitting Xayah in a side lane because Upset wants the resource. He wants the farm funneled into him and he needs the safety of Trick. Otherwise, Akali is just going to rock up and kill him. It's like this demanding of resource that really slowed down everything that Schalke want to do. And I think you are starting to see some of that mental fatigue on these players in slight outplays or kind of weird lane assignments, bizarre macro decisions. Like Schalke are really falling apart.
Is it mental fatigue or is it just they have found a team or they are playing versus a team which they have no business beating?
I mean, I think right now the creativity that Fnatic brings into draft, but also into then early game plans, like what we saw with the Lee Sin, it does make it very difficult for Schalke because they're not the kind of team to bring up these unique things themselves. You know, they play very standard in how they approach the game as well. So it's difficult. You're against very good players who are mechanically able to like skirmish you, and they can play a lot of different things right now. And then they also get advantages early through some very creative plays. Like, it's hard. There's too many things right now. You got to figure it out.
What do they do?
I feel like Schalke as a team, the biggest difficulty is that they're playing on such a basic level, which is perfect against teams that are weaker. They have a clear objective. Okay, we want to get bot lane ahead. But the thing is, I feel like teams like Fnatic and G2, which are the two teams in Europe that play like this, is that they're looking for the small victories to get them to that point at all times. They're looking at the roams into mid, spreading that pressure into bottom, and all of a sudden there's this working engine that is in place for Fnatic that puts them in the position where eventually QSS is on, there's no engaged potential at all from Schalke, and this comp of Schalke is just completely dissected. And I think that is the biggest outlier here, that Fnatic is always looking for the smaller victories to get them to that point.
So I think if we look at what Schalke did as a change, I think they did a lot of correct things. Like we have to praise that. I think Schalke in terms of drafting, they have to stick to this kind of style. You can then argue if there are certain picks on the other side you want to try and get rid of, but you can't really because you're already banning Yuumi, Rakan, TF, and I assume they pick red side again on Schalke side.
Yep.
So give Akali, I think that's fine. I don't think you have to take the Aatrox. Again, I think it's okay to give it over to Fnatic and try and go for more just like really pure death ball 5-on-5.
Final words, perhaps we need to move on, but what can they do?
I think the Aatrox pick is interesting. I definitely think that they'll leave it open, but the key difference is that when you're facing Finn's Aatrox versus Bwipo's Aatrox, Finn's Aatrox didn't punish you in lane, and Bwipo's Aatrox will. And I think that's the gamble that Schalke are looking at in Game 3. If they leave it open,
it's a strong pick.
I think give Yuumi. Give Yuumi.
Give Yuumi and see what
Give
happens.
Yuumi
Hylissang has been too wild these games. I think give Yuumi Garen, play the Kaiser into it, and you have a matchup. You know, no AD, Upsa can feel good about himself, and I think that's the confidence booster that Schalke might need.
They
to
might
continue.
need it indeed. Nobody here, though, voted for Schalke to win this, but do you guys have in your gut a feeling that they could still take a game?
I mean, we can dress this pill up either way,
Yes.
but it's a hard one to swallow, and the reality is that Fnatic are just better than Schalke in every iteration of play. If it's a 5v5, if it's skirmish, if it's playing side lanes, grouping up.
Also, Frosk would be really happy because if Fnatic win 3-0, she is #1 in the predictions, I believe. So
Very
I don't
nice.
think she wants them to win another game. However, I always want 5 games when we are in an arena. It is do or die for Schalke in Game 3 as Fnatic are on match point in tonight's semifinal. Don't go anywhere.
Fnatic, have they bitten off more than they can chew? They set their eyes on Trick, but he flashes out to safety. Broxah goes in! First blood, the Sonic Wave, but Abbedagge now caught in the midst of the Fnatic beat grinder once again. Will not connect on the Bwipo. Hylissang using his hook back, but there's so many members now. It's 5v5 right in the midst of this. Odoamne is going to get chunked out. He doesn't even have an ultimate. Broxah going to take him down. Waiting on the dash, waiting for a quick dash over the wall. Bwipo's now coming to back him up. He doesn't even need it. He can look for the execution. Trick goes down.
Just nothing they can do. They must make the play.
Trick goes in. Hylissang once again caught out, but he's just going to dash out to safety. The Ezreal ulti does so much damage. Bwipo, that was huge. Fnatic are here to dominate. They are not shaken from their series versus G2, and they will move up to match point in the semifinal.
You don't have a chance against me. I can calculate 90 trillion moves in advance. Not fair. Not fair.
Red Bull gives you wings.
Ready for the finals?
Experience the LEC Finals in Athens with Shell V-Power.